Greetings, my name is Brenda Hertzmer from Campus for Communities of the Future, Systems for Sustainable Engagement and Transformation. This is all about locally driven innovation that is global by intent. And I need to begin by thanking the many leaders, some with a title, some without, across Canada who we worked with and learned from. And additionally, we've had numerous conversations and feedback from leaders in other countries who are members of Catalyst Now, and they have provided valuable information that has shaped this initiative. So what is this about? Well, this is about addressing a challenge and an opportunity. And you may be aware of this already, but as much as 65% of the world's most pressing issues, which is what the SDGs, the sustainable goals are, they're not going to be achieved without being localized. The need is for cross-sectoral, localized, high-impact approaches that are needed to address the many complex challenges that we're facing and to improve our overall well-being. And of course, none of that is going to happen without policy, funding, capacity, and how-tos to make that a reality. And we're finding that is coming, but it's taken time. So we thought we should begin by sharing with you what we learned is working. Kind of a backwards approach, I think, to research, but it worked well. But also not only what we learned, but why that is important. So we do know that it has to be about community-driven development, and that's because it's about listening and acknowledging the wisdom and expertise that's at the roots of our communities and those who are closest to the issues and the opportunities. It is about aligning this local action in communities with the United Nations SDG framework, because that allows us to align social, environmental, cultural, and economic goals. And this, in turn, not only addresses the local issues, but it sparks global systems change. We also learned about the importance of leadership. A different kind of leadership is needed for complexity and being able to respond to opportunities. So this is also about fostering capacity for leading and adapting in complex, multi-sectoral initiatives. Different kind of leadership for sure. The impact-driven, high-impact outcomes are really critical, because that allows us, ensures balance between economic outcomes and the positive social, environmental, and culture impact that is often lost at the expense of the economic outcomes. An asset-based mindset. This sounds pretty simple, but I think too often we start with, what do you need? What are the problems? And what we have found that it's far more impactful if we begin by saying, what are your strengths as a community? What do you love about your community? That ultimately is what contributes to a totally different mindset and the hope and motivation that results. Trusted relationships. I hear this from a lot of those that we've worked with. It's all about trust. That's the foundation for achieving meaningful and sustainable change. The diversity piece is critical. We used to always say the more diverse the mix, the better the fix. So that's important. And lastly, the most impactful leaders were those who embraced the messy. Meaningful change is rarely linear. And so there needs to be some courage in terms of being okay with that and being willing to tackle that. So what we found that was probably one of our most critical learnings is that there was a missing piece here. We know that there are different sectors and silos in our communities and beyond, and we know that the government is a sector, businesses are a sector. In Canada, we're now referring to the third sector as being about social purpose organizations, and we love that because it includes nonprofits, charities, social enterprises, cooperatives, and businesses with a primary social purpose. But I think too often we neglect local residents and citizens, and they are not only those who support the other three sectors in many ways, but are also receive the benefits of those. But what we learned is that we all need to work together to achieve these complexities, and it doesn't seem to be anyone's job. And what we have learned, and even my own elected officials where I live actually said, Well, yeah, it's everyone's responsibility to bring all the different sectors together. But we learned is that when it's everyone's responsibility, it ends up being no one's responsibility. So we see this critical need for systems catalysts. Often they're known by other names, but to be the neutral cross-sector connectors to amplify collaboration. And they're the ones who bring the different sectors together for this whole community or this systems approach that is essential. So the solution, well, it took us a while to get here, but and even to describe it because this is a beast of an initiative. But as it is locally driven innovation, it's framed by global priorities, but ultimately it's designed to reset, accelerate, and scale communities as ecosystems. We're hearing a lot of talk about ecosystems recently, but I'm not sure where we have heard or are thinking about our own communities and neighborhoods even as being ecosystems. But this is the answer because it is grounded in regenerative thinking. It's a cross-sectoral community-led approach that allows us to really get to social, economic, environmental, and cultural well-being. It is definitely a moonshot vision, yes. uh, the high level impacts that we are seeing as a result of this approach in the many communities that we have worked with is that we're seeing an increase in sustainable social, environmental, and economic well-being, more impact-driven, scalable businesses and enterprises. We have found that we cannot separate businesses and the economic sector from the rest of the community. We need all sectors. We see that this collective approach results in community-informed, effective, confident policy making, trusted relationships, and active participation among very diverse community members. We're seeing increased systems leadership capacity at all levels and innovative multi-sectoral partnerships and collaborations. And eventually, we're seeing more visibility, more funding, and more policy influence for systems innovators and entrepreneurs. There is more that we will share about the strategic priorities. But for now, what we want to emphasize that we're offering a full stack menu of services. So there's an opportunity for many other enterprises and businesses to be involved. And it's because it is about supporting communities to develop inclusive and innovative and systemic solutions and opportunities. So it is about capacity building for systems innovation and local leadership and the responsiveness of a community to what comes at them and including the opportunities. We are also going to be looking for lead demonstration communities who will be working in a community of practice. So there's a lot of peer-to-peer learning and potential certification as well. We will work with businesses and enterprises that have been determined as a priority by communities to ensure their investment readiness and that they have opportunities and scaling for innovative community-led initiatives. And then the matching up, the networking and the matching to cultivate these social, economic, and environmental priorities. If we have tweaked your interest and you're interested in being involved and want to learn more, we'd love to have you attend our July 9th webinar to learn more and potentially how you, your organization, and your community could be involved. Here's the link to register, and we hope to see you there. Thank you for your time and for your attention.